Don't go after my freaking husband, Bill Maher. Do not, because I will come for you. You're a stoner who makes $7 trillion, and you're going to complain that you are canceled? First of all, why are you so grumpy? You are literally the most angry stoner I've ever met in my entire life. Plus, your show has never been bigger, so shut up.
Hello and welcome to Obsessed the Podcast. I'm Matt Wilstein from The Daily Beast, and today on the show, we have not one, but two excellent guests who also happen to be a married couple in real life. I'm talking about Amy Landecker and Bradley Whitford, who met while they were working on the show Transparent, and now star together in the new rom-com For Worse, which is also written and directed by Amy. We got into so much in this episode, and it was really one of the most fun conversations we've had on this show so far, so I'm very excited for you to get to listen to it. We talked about the new movie, we talked about their relationship and how they first met, their meet cute, if you will. We talked about some of their past projects, including The West Wing and Handmaid's Tale and so much more, and also got into a bit of politics because, as you may or may not know, Bradley Whitford has a lot of opinions in that area, including about Cheryl Hines, who calls him out in her new book. So you definitely want to stick around for that as well. So I am not going to waste any more time. Let's get into it. Here's me with Amy Landecker and Bradley Whitford. Amy Landecker and Bradley Whitford, welcome to Obsessed the Podcast. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you're our first real-life married couple on the show. That's a nice distinction.
Oh, good.
No, that's not going to last long.
Yeah. For now.
Well, yeah, that's what this new movie is about in a lot of ways. So I want to get to that. But I like to start these conversations by asking my guests, what's the first piece of pop culture that you remember being really obsessed with as a kid growing up?
Saturday Night Fever.
I didn't know if you were going to go live or fever there for a second.
No, Saturday Night Fever. There was like the music, the BJs, the dancing, the John Travolta, just completely obsessed and danced to that music constantly. I mean, it really imprinted on me. And, I can feel him walking down the street in that like burgundy button down sort of polyester shirt. And, I was thinking about that movie recently and realizing how dark so much of it was, but that's not, I experienced it in such a way about just like the disco and how cute he was.
What about you, Bradley?
Honestly, like Dr. Zhivago, Julie Christie and Dr. Zhivago stirred me.
Shows he's older than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into this movie that you guys made, For Worse, which I just got to see and really, really enjoyed so much. So congrats, first of all, on making it. You seem, by all accounts, like a happily married couple. So why make a movie about divorce?
Because it's a lie. We're not. No. Well, because it was really about our divorces. The idea that we both have been divorced and sort of how we connected on the way that we felt during that time, which was really painful because if you have children, it also means that you're not going to get your kid all the time. And I think it's something that it's only someone who's been through that can relate to just how deeply painful that is. In modern, times, what's best for the kid is 50-50. That's been proven psychologically for children, as long as, both parents are good parents. And so you really will not have your kid for like half the time. And it can really throw you when you're alone into some dark thoughts and silly, absurd actions. And so the movie's really about that. And then hopefully finding
The happy ending.
And the connection and the grace to give yourself forgiveness and others forgiveness for the way they're behaving, and to sort of be able to look back at your absurd foibles and have a sense of humor about it. But yeah, we're the happy ending part.
We're
the for better.
Yeah.
This comes before.
Yeah, right.
But people get really, divorce is heartbreaking. We both have, wonderful exes who are happy. But you come out of a divorce, especially when there are kids, completely disoriented, and part of I think what Amy was able to do was sort of press some autobiographical elements through this sort of joyous rom-com structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the format of a rom-com, it's hard to spoil because we kind of, as soon as Bradley, your character, is introduced, we kind of get a feeling that you two might end up together and have a happy ending.
It's funny because Amy's always worried about.
We debate.
You know,
Debate whether people know that's coming.
and I'm like, have you seen Titanic?
I know. Well, but also he's a Darcy character. So if you know anything about Pride and Prejudice, or if you follow any of that stuff, you do know something's going on, because when you don't like someone and they don't like you in a rom-com, usually there's something else that's going to happen. So that's a very intentional. You're absolutely right. Like, we've been, because we're on the poster together, we're doing press together. I'm like, everyone's going to know.
By the way, that element was part of the way that we met. I thought she was nuts, and she thought I was a jerk.
Yeah. Just from afar, we misunderstood each other. So
Yes.
that was something that I wanted to lay in.
Yeah, so you were recreating real life in this movie, which I was wondering what it's like to be married, be a couple, but playing two people who are just meeting for the first time and connecting in different ways.
Well, I also said to him, like, this is a love story. This whole script is just a my love note to you. And he's like, huh, interesting. You wrote a love note where you make out with a younger guy for 3/4 of the story.
Yeah. It was like, let's reverse it, honey.
I know. He's like, I'm like, oh, I would die. I would absolutely die. I could not
No, you're not into that?
do what he did, which is like be present for that. But we had a great time.
We really, it was. I've had a lifetime of incredible creative opportunities, and it was absolutely the most joy, that I've been able to have on a set and go through the whole process.
I mean, we shot our last scene together, almost our last scene together. Well, no, all of our last scenes together were the first 2 days of shooting, and our big scene together was the second day of shooting. And so I was first of all, I was nervous. I didn't know how we would act together. We'd done like one pilot together very briefly, but we hadn't really acted together.
Right.
I directed in something for Funny or Die. So I called Bradley Whitford emotional stuntman. I suggest everybody Google that.
Watch the extended version, please. You may learn something about the craft.
Yes. But so I wasn't as nervous about that, but I was really happy that I felt like we felt fresh. It didn't, like that it did feel like we were just getting to know each other, even though of course we knew the lines and we knew each other, but there's like this very lovely, sparkly energy in that.
There's a cliche about the dangers of sort of, working with your partner, but overall, it was an intensely joyous thing to sort of make a story together. I mean, it was just really, really.
And I think like I'm not as well known as he is, and particularly like our marriage isn't maybe known to everybody, so it's not like everyone's tired of like we know everything about Amy and Bradley. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't even know we're married, so that helps too.
I try to keep it.
He doesn't like people to know. He's been trying to keep it on the DL, but he's embarrassed.
Yeah, the shame.
Well, so now I want to put both of you on the spot. So Bradley, how was Amy as a director, maybe compared to other directors you've had, or other experiences?
Amy, and obviously I would lie, but I'm not. Amy was exactly the kind of director that I want. One of the best things about having the opportunity to direct is you get to create the atmosphere on the set, which you want to create. And sets can either be scary or really, really joyous and kind. And she created that. We have basically precisely the same taste. I am a huge fan of Amy's unique ability to be emotionally grounded, complicated, funny, all at the same time. I really aspire to that, and when we're talking about a moment, we may think, one may think, well, we should do this, and the other may think that, but we always arrive at the same place. So it was really good.
Okay, now Amy, your turn. How was Bradley to direct?
Well, thank God. I don't know if I would have been as fearless. We did do this really big mockumentary for Funny or Die that, I got to really play with him for a few days. And then, we worked on the short. No, that was a bad joke. I was trying to make a joke, but it didn't work. But I'm really not that funny. But no, but I knew from that
Hang on. What was the
the
joke?
joke was like play with you and then do the directing. Get it?
Oh.
Whatever. It was
Yeah.
bad. It was bad. It didn't work. I haven't slept a lot. But I I was nervous. He says he aspires. Give me a break. Like he's one of the best actors that any of us know. We're all fully aware of that. His ability. I do feel like his comic stuff has not been highlighted as much as it should. I think he is. I've worked with some of the funniest people and am friends with some of the funniest people in the world, and he is right up there. And I don't think that's really what Bradley's known for, is like, oh yeah, the great comedy guy. So I felt like I got to and for worse, you're not as crazy funny. I mean, in the sense that you're more of a straight man sometimes. Like, no, I mean I just mean like, your toast to your daughter is not a big joke.
No.
There's moving stuff in it. Whereas in Bradley Whitford, Emotional Stuntman, it's all satire. It's all, but I knew how much fun he had. He said how much fun he had. He said that was like one of the best times I've ever had. And that made me feel really confident that like, he would, and we have very similar taste. And I think we have just a great deal of adoration for each other's talents. Like we both think each other, I could never be with someone if I didn't think they were good at what they do, but he like is
Nothing worse than dating someone and going to see them in a play.
and they're bad. Or you don't like their sensibility or so he's like, he is literally my rom-com fantasy, like Bradley Whitford. And so to actually have the fantasy in the movie and then actually turn to my left and he's sitting here it was pretty great. And I feel like I'm gonna get like a boulder is gonna fall out of the sky and kill me right now because I'm saying too many good things.
We're all gonna die.
I mean, I'm just like, I don't want to get hit by a truck today, but
It never ends well, does it?
nothing ends well.
Except for rom-coms.
Except for Rom's house.
For rom-coms.
That's why we made it.
Wait.
And it's such a joyous thing, especially right now in the world where there's a lot of anxiety and darkness. The response, especially when people get to see this in a theater, is such a joy.
Yeah. So you alluded to your meet cute where you didn't quite understand each other. Was that during Transparent, which you were both on, but you didn't work together?
We didn't act together.
I could still see the day that we were both on set, though, the same day. At this hotel, and he's dressed as a woman, or he's cross-dressing. He's a homophobic cross-dresser.
Yes.
You're also like
a very particular kink.
He had like a blonde wig on and he was about 30 pounds heavier and in heels. And it was just like, it wasn't really a great look. And then I was probably getting dumped or something.
She was like weeping,
talking about Abby because I was having a hard time in this dating situation. And so, I remember clocking each other. I actually can see the first time Bradley reached across the table at our first table read and shook my hand. And, I just sort of was like, his energy, his swag just made me uncomfortable. I think I probably was attracted to it, but my response to that was like, he's a jerk. And
Amy has repeatedly pointed out to me that everyone's first perception of me is that I am a swaggering prick. but then you get over it.
But like,
yeah, you see past it.
If you were in Billy Madison as
I was so deeply in that character.
As the dick, he's always cast as a dick. The nicest one was, Josh Lyman, who was still emotionally very unavailable, right, in a lot of ways.
And Brad is a pricky name. It's Chad adjacent.
Yeah, Brad. Yeah, and he also, I think, thought actresses were probably
nuts.
Which we are, but we're delightful.
So yeah, but then we ended up.
Oh yeah, we did a Q&A for an Emmy campaign for Transparent. This was about a year later, And I actually see him while I'm getting my pictures taken. He's waiting to get his pictures. You go one at a time at these things. They're just like a little, and I was like, man, he's good. That guy's cute. And he's giving me one of his like swaggery smiles. And then we go backstage and we're sitting on a couch waiting. And I don't know how the conversation started, but we started talking about our divorces and our dating life post divorce and how colorful our dating lives had
And
been.
how
And how miserable we were
miserable,
not having our kids.
not having our kids, and in the wake of our divorces, we had both seemed to develop what I would generously call when I asked her out, I basically said it's in the movie. Like, I have terrible taste. I've developed terrible taste in women. Would you like to go out with me? And he was going,
Like, oh, that's so flattering.
Yeah.
Why did I think you were a jerk?
Yeah.
But also really cute thing about Meet Cute is my kid, Iris, did make a list of qualities that were required if I was going to date anyone again. And on that list was he has to like cats and dogs. And I remember thinking
and
like,
seemed like a jerk initially.
yeah, right. Okay. And then I was like, that's kind of hard. Like, not a lot of men love cats. I mean, it's just a cliche, but also to have both is just rare. And the first time I went over to Bradley's house,
It's
I
petting zoo.
met Elton the cat came in after I'd already met the dogs. And I was like, who's that? He's like, that's my cat. And I was like, we're done. Sign me up.
Sign me up. Maybe not a jerk.
So I wanted to ask a little bit about Transparent and your experience, since that was the show that you guys did together. Bradley, you have spoken out in the past against your former boss at Amazon, Jeff Bezos, for not doing more.
That is correct, sir.
And that show, when I think about it, I mean, that was like the flagship show of Amazon Prime Video at the time. I can't imagine that company making that show today. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's extraordinary to me, and Bezos is sort of, I've said this publicly before, is sort of Exhibit A, this horrible realization that, in the face of the rise of authoritarianism, the least vulnerable among us are the first to capitulate. And I was with Jeff Bezos, sitting with him and his mom at the Emmys. He was talking about how important the show was as a piece of art and a way to advocate for a vulnerable, marginalized community. And then I would on the Post, when he had bought the Post, and he was there when we were doing publicity at the Washington Post and saying all the right things. I
think nothing is more disheartening than the people like him who he was so lovely and supportive and progressive. And then you kind of see this shift happening and you go, well, that's really scary, because I can understand someone who sort of starts in a place of, capitalistic, like, like greed, endless amounts of need for power and money. But when someone's coming from a slightly, much different place, seemingly much different place, and sort of is evolving to someone who goes to like, the inauguration, and there's no public speaking out. And I think that's been
making a Melania documentary.
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, I've got to tell you, like, it's not just upsetting, it's heartbreaking. I mean, it's heartbreaking because those are the people who could really, really stand up. They've got more money than God. They don't need, I mean, what do they need to make? They need to do their merger and make $1 trillion more billion. How much was he worth when we did that? And how much is he worth now?
Well, I think when the Post came out, he was worth 17 billion. Now it's over 300 or 400. How on billion? And I know they're very proud of their net worth, these characters. How on earth you do not turn to your wife if you have whatever it is, $340 billion, which your net worth is skyrocketing because you're paying even less taxes than you paid last year because of the bill that you advocated for. How do you not turn to your wife and say, you know what, this year we're going to get by on $330 billion. And for $10 billion, not even my liberal wet dream, we're going to make sure that every United States veteran is housed and has the services they need, which would be an additional $10 billion. And instead, these guys are supporting someone who, is spending $40 billion to, detention centers. I don't understand it. I always say it comes down to my father's favorite riddle: who's happier, the guy with 11 kids or the guy with $11 million? And the answer is, of course, the guy with 11 kids. But the reason is he's the only one who doesn't want more. And I think these guys are simply, addicted to money, and they are an extension of a political movement in this country that is going on my entire lifetime in the Republican Party, which is based on this Orwellian idea that the rich are victims. They are overtaxed and they're regulated and they need to be set free. And it's insane. I don't know if you know, but Amy's great grandfather was a guy named Joseph Nye Welsh, who stood up to Roy Cohn, and Joseph McCarthy.
You're going to happens to be
the mentor, Trump's moral bankruptcy professor.
my Republican,
and said, "At long last, sir, have you no decency?"
And decency is just gone.
Which, by the way, is what Amy said to me on our wedding. And I thought things were going great.
Yeah. Speaking of people who have also seemed to have changed over the years, I was curious if you've gotten a chance to read Cheryl Hines's book yet.
Oh, let's not go. No, we're not going there today. We're not going.
No, I have not. I will say, I
want to say something on this on the record. Bradley stepped into something with Cheryl a while ago that blew up in a way, and he was a little bit misinterpreted, in my opinion, because he tweeted something to Cheryl about not standing up, and people were like, why would you go after the wife, right? It's not her fault. What he did not do was tweet back to her tweet. He tweeted back to something that Trump had tweeted about being proud of abolishing Roe v. Wade. And because he didn't tweet back to Cheryl, he got called out for she didn't do anything. Why are you attacking her? And I'm like, this is simply a misunderstanding, because she did publicly come out and say, I'm very proud of my husband and I've met wonderful people on both sides. So he was specifically responding to a public person making a public statement. And if Bill Maher wants to come after my freaking husband one more time and complain about the fact that people who are known are having an opinion, and who is he? What is he famous for? Just being known and having an opinion. And then coming after him and going, oh, you're the worst kind of liberal. Well, to me, he's the worst kind of hypocrite. I cannot tell you the rage that I have against. I mean, you want to talk about don't go after the wife. Don't go after my freaking husband, Bill Maher. Do not, because I will fucking come for you.
Bill Maher is now the grandpa on the porch.
Oh my God, he's a snowflake. The liberals, you can't handle. You're a fucking stoner who makes $7 trillion, and you're gonna complain that you are canceled. First of all, why are you so grumpy? You are literally the most angry stoner I've ever met in my entire life. Plus, your show has never been bigger, so shut up about being canceled.
No, he's worried about cancel culture on his 35th year of hosting a show. And the thing that made me laugh the other day was when he went after Billie Eilish for criticizing ICE.
Yeah.
As if the young kids don't understand the gifts of Western culture. Talk about defensive. Should young children not be should young people not be upset about people with no judicial process being warehoused?
If you're an artist, are you really not political? Isn't art political? I mean, please. But I want to say,
was a comedian talking about politics.
Exactly.
He doesn't want anybody else to express.
Exactly. But I want to say about Cheryl, it's a similar thing with Jeff. I want to just say my biggest issue is my heartbreak. My heartbreak. That's the hard part. It's watching someone, who you thought you knew a certain way, and then something completely else takes place. And I think that's really where he was coming from that night. We had been talking about Cheryl. Of course, we know Cheryl. It is the idea that like she knows us. She knows she's been, a Democrat, a pro, choice, a pro queer, comedic icon, and all of a sudden something very different is taking place, and it's very upsetting and scary. It's scary.
Targeting trans people was a big way in which they won the election. Targeting immigrants was a big way in which they won the election. And I've been very public about my criticism of, like his own family members of RFK. The bullshit about vaccines is very personal to me. My first cousin died of polio. Polio has saved lives. Vaccines do not cause autism. And so the moral bankruptcy of people in search of power, when the most fundamental aspects of our democracy are under attack, is really upsetting to me, whether it's Jeff Bezos or RFK or anybody who co-signed. But our movie is incredibly sweet. Really fun.
Our publicists are like, "What are you doing?" But the last thing I want to say about that too is my grandfather was a Jew in Germany during the war and escaped. Nazism and the rise of fascism is terrifying and fascinating.
And recent.
And one of the most incredible parts of that is, how do people get changed, right? Like, what allows a person who was one thing to then shift into another? And that is what I find most upsetting. I don't mind if you're born a certain way, you were educated a certain way, that's the way you were raised. The transformation from acceptance and care to then fear and power is really scary. And that's what we're responding to.
And detention camps are unacceptable.
Yeah.
But the movie's hilarious.
The movie's hilarious.
And I hope Cheryl loves it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, Cheryl's gonna love it.
And Bill Maher.
Yeah, Bill Maher, have us on.
Yeah.
He's a romantic, right?
He loves a good romance.
So we like to do a segment on this show called Unmissable, where we talk about things that are just, we can't miss in pop culture. If people could go back and watch just one thing that each of you has made, let's say not including this new movie, what would you pick? What would you want people to see?
I want them to see what Amy directed.
Yeah, we're gonna say the same.
It's on Funny or Die, and it's called Amy directed it. Bradley Whitford, emotional stuntman. Please watch the extended actor's cut.
It's literally one of the funnest things I've ever gotten to do.
We really.
And I think if you haven't seen A Serious Man, which was a really
Incredible.
I love that movie. Yeah,
I would see that too.
The West Wing's not bad either.
It's okay, but
And look how we changed the political discourse. It's the power of story.
Everything's fixed now.
We're all good. Handmaids fixed the fascism, misogyny stuff.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too. What do you think people should miss? Anything you've made that you would advise people not to see?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh my God.
Oh God. My work in Revenge. We could skip that.
My wife loves that show, I gotta say.
It's huge in Brazil too. And like, if I ever see a Brazilian in New York, they freak out, but I think I'm terrible in it. Just absolutely terrible. Or my work in Early Edition, which was on CBS many years ago, where I'm playing this like pregnant woman with a really bad New York accent, and I'm utterly unwatchable.
I did a little stint on All My Children that
You can see the clip. It's hysterical.
I'm awful.
What are you doing? You're doing some weird.
No, I'm like a jerk.
He's like, he's got like a voice and a way of. Oh, you're just doing yourself.
Oh yeah.
You're doing your jerk thing.
Yeah. I'm meeting Amy.
Trying to seduce me.
Is there a story or memory that you guys have, maybe together in the industry, something in your career that makes you laugh now but really was not funny when it happened?
Oh yeah. I used to God, what was
Well, my entire divorce is what I made the movie out of, which was
not a great
was
time.
not funny at the time, but now it is.
You found a way to make it funny.
I was coming up in theater here in New York, and I used to, the actors say don't read your reviews, because you have to do the play that night, and
Yeah.
I had a series of experiences where I was in plays that got trashed, but I got these nice mentions in them. And I would say to these actors, it's just a critic. Don't worry about it. You can read it, because I had always had a nice little mention. And then I did a production. It was called at a classic stage company called Tower of Evil. And I thought it didn't work at all. And I think I thought people were kind of overacting. And I was,
The one exception.
good
one.
trying to keep it truthful. And it got a rave review, except it said something. Bradley Whitford is I don't know, I forget what I weirdly forget the word, because usually you remember it, but it trashed me, and they blew up the review and put the review along with the quote trashing me in the lobby for people going into the theater.
Because it was mostly a great review.
They could usually now they would edit that part out, I think.
Yes, we did not have the technology back when I started in the 30s.
Well, thank you two so much for doing this. I could have talked to you for so much longer. I feel like there's a lot of stuff we didn't get to, but I really enjoyed the movie. For Worse is playing in theaters in New York and LA right now and goes wide on Friday, March 6th. Amy Landecker and Bradley Whitford, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. And if you want to see it in the theater, go to
FortWorthMovie.com.
FortWorthMovie.
It has everywhere it is. Yeah.
ForWorseMovie.com.
Thank
Fantastic. Thank you. All right, that was so much fun. I should always have a married couple as my guest on this show. It made my job very easy. Thank you so much to Amy Landecker and Bradley Whitford. It was just so much fun talking with them. I feel like I could have talked to them for so much longer, but I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please follow us on YouTube at The Obsessed Channel, and give us a follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, we'd love to hear what you think about the show. Leave a comment on our YouTube channel on this video. Leave a rating and review on Apple and Spotify. Tell us what you think and who you want to see on the show, what you thought of the episode, and really just anything that's on your mind. I want to thank our producers on this episode, Devin Rogerino and Rachel Passer. And we'll be back with an all-new episode of Obsessed, the podcast, very soon.